Let's get to know more about the Bulldogs. Let's welcome in Ernest Robinson, voice of South Carolina State Football. 19th season doing play-by-play, 30 seasons. The Coaches Show does men's and women's basketball too. Ernest, it's been good exchanging text messages with you the last couple of days, and welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you. Nice to have me. That just means I'm old.
Veteran experience. We got called OGs, old guard there by our previous UCF student guest. So we welcome you in. Tell us more about this South Carolina State team. They're coming off a successful season a year ago, and they look to build momentum going into this season.
Well, I think we did. It's a very young football team. It's a young, experienced football team. I think that was the thing that came about. We really benefited from COVID. And when I say benefited from COVID, I mean the extra year from the standpoint of kids getting experience. So when you look at us, we're very young, but we're very experienced. Last year, we started slowly. I thought we played pretty well at Clemson. And the game was, we were in the ball game, kind of settled down. And toward the end of the ball game, they were still throwing it late into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter. So the score ended up being a lot distorted. That happens a lot of times when you are a football championship subdivision team and you're playing Division I opponents. They want the final score to be kind of like it was between Florida A&M and North Carolina the other night, but the final score is not indicative of how well Florida A&M played in that game. We're hoping to show well. Our kids believe they can do anything, and we're going to come at them and get after them. If we can stay in early on, the longer it goes, the more uncomfortable folks will get at the bounce house.
I was doing some research, talking to Leger Douzable, who would be on the ESPN Plus call. One name stands out. Shaq Davis is a name that continues to come up, a 6'5" receiver. How good is this kid? How much of a problem do you think he's going to be on the field for the Knights on Thursday?
Well, I think you said it all when you say he's 6'5". That's a problem for anybody receiving a guy with good hands. He's a really good athlete. Last year, to tell you the kind of athlete he was, after the football season, they asked him to come out to the basketball team, and he actually played basketball for South Carolina State. He's a really good jumper at 6'5". He went to the same high school that A.J. Green went to, so he's kind of cut from that mode. Learning to be more of a route runner and does run good routes. But, Shaq would not be Shaq without our quarterback. We've got a really good quarterback in Corey Fields. He's a really good arm. He can really sling it. If we get time in the pocket to throw the football, it can be a problem. He's got some interesting receivers. A kid, Richard Bailey, who's a slot receiver, actually went to high school with Corey Fields. So when he gets lost and can't find anybody, Richard Bailey's the smallest guy on the field. As a matter of fact, if you look for the guy who looked like he should have been in a Pee Wee football game, that's Richard Bailey, but he's kind of like Tyler Renfro in this offense.
Ernest, we've played you guys 3 different times now, 2018, 2016, 2008. 38-0 the last 2 times, 17-0 the time before that. 0 points in 3 games. Is there such thing as moral victories if you guys just get on the scoreboard tomorrow night?
These kids are different. They're not cut from that same mold. They think they can come in and win and play well, and it depends upon how the game goes. We'll get more confidence as we do positive things. I think positive would be the score. But I do think this team thinks that they can come in and win and shock the world, and, stranger things have happened. Again, we're very talented along the offensive line. If we can control things up front from the offensive line standpoint, we're young, but we're real experienced. And these guys that play in the offensive line have all played last year. So they've been in big atmospheres. They've been in larger atmospheres than what they'll see over at the bounce house. Let me tell you, Clemson's atmosphere is no comparison to what, Central Florida can't compare to Clemson from the standpoint of playing in front of a crowd. So we've done that before. I think defensively, what we've got to do is we've got to slow that run game down. We're most concerned about the quarterback Plumlee because he can run the ball so well. That could be a problem. We're not big defensively, but we got kids that'll get after it. We bring back 9 starters on defense and 9 starters on offense. The starters on defense, of course, was Durant, who went to the NFL, and the other corner is Zafir Kelly. But the kids who are filling in played a lot last year, so everyone's played an awful lot. I don't think the moment will be too big. It's just a matter of how long we can hang around.
A Senior Bowl invitee, Jablonski Green, defensive end. Tell us about him.
He's a man. He makes things happen when he comes into a football game. As he didn't miss the first 4 games last year. So when you look at his stats and think about what he did it over the last 7 games and, of course, in the bowl game. but he makes things happen. He deflects passes. He's a smart kid. If he can't get to the quarterback, he'll, go up with his hands and try to make something happen. Try to create havoc along the defensive line. It's gonna be tough for somebody to handle one-on-one. But when I look at, you guys up front, you're huge. You got some experienced offensive linemen as well. So it'll be a good challenge for Jablonski. But he's a good ball player, and he's gonna get after it. The kid on the other side, Patrick Godbolt, is not as big, but he's very, very quick. And I'll tell you an interesting story. The defensive tackle, his name's Brandon Tucker. Brandon Tucker started out as an offensive lineman. That's how you got a defensive lineman with number 65. He was a guard. And then during COVID, we got so racked on the defensive line that they asked for volunteers to go to the defensive line from the offensive line. And he came over to the defensive line and has been a starter ever since.
Ernest, we mentioned Shaq Davis. You mentioned Corey Fields. Obviously, Kendall Flowers in the running back position as well. Describe the offense South Carolina State likes to run. What can we expect? Is it heavy run, heavy pass, a little bit of both? What kind of offensive philosophy are we going to see?
It's a little bit of both. It's kind of 50-50. It depends on what we can do up the middle. Kendall Flowers is a strong runner inside. He actually, in the Jackson State game, had a concussion. Jackson State didn't realize that we didn't have any running backs after Kendall Flowers got hurt in that particular ball game. So we played the entire second half without a really good running back. But we're much better at running back. We got Alex James backs who can spell Kendall Flowers. Both those guys can run the football extremely well. Kendall, of course, played at Wake Forest, rushed for like 887 last year, and he was kind of hurt part of the year. But Corey Fields likes to throw the football. He's a pocket passer. Now, one thing that could possibly happen, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but we had a quarterback before Corey Fields. His name was Tyrese Nick. Nick is kind of a Lamar Jackson kind of guy. He can run it. He can throw it. As a matter of fact, in the spring of last year during COVID, we actually had Nick in at slot receiver because he's a really good athlete. Well, Nick was given a 6-year. He got hurt last year towards Achilles in the spring, and so he can come back. He is just as good a passer as Corey Fields, but he brings the element of being able to run the football from the quarterback position. If you see number 3 come into the ball game, you can confuse him with number 2 because they're both small. But if he gets into the ball game, we can do some creative things. And one thing that what we like about Coach Buddy Pugh is he's willing to try. He's willing to be bold. And so if you see 2 and 3 on the field at the same time, it could be a problem because they could swing it out to him. He could throw it down the field. They run him from the slot. They do a lot of reverses and that kind of stuff. They kind of spread things out and make it kind of interesting for Central Florida to see some stuff that you haven't seen on film yet.
You guys ended the season very well last year, beating Dion's team, Jackson State, in the Celebration Bowl. Beat them pretty handily, 31-10. How many starters do we have returning on both sides of the ball? And you guys looking to repeat again this year?
Let me be honest with you. We've got 9 starters on offense and 9 starters on defense coming back. We lost the kid in the secondary. Jalen Evans was hurt about 2 weeks ago, but the kid that replaced him started the times as well, so the number really doesn't change. His name is Kendall Moutry. He wears 21. Last year during the Jackson State game, our inside linebacker, Chad Gilchrist, was out because he didn't make the grades and couldn't play in the Jackson State game. The kid that filled in for him was Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith got an interception in the Jackson State game, and he's the starter tomorrow night at inside linebacker for us. But another kid to watch for is number 5, B.J. Davis. B.J. Davis is an angry football player. He plays like he's mad at everybody. If there's anybody throwing fists or anybody getting into something, you can bet number 5 is going to be in the middle of it. So from that standpoint, we'll hang around as long as we can hang around. And then if it gets bad late, we just want to get out of here, pick up the check, and go home and stay healthy. But we're going to try to make a football game of it.
You mentioned pick up the check and go home, but you're right back in Daytona Beach against Bethune-Cookman the following week. You heading home? You're just staying in Central Florida?
Well, I've spent so much time in Florida. I had a daughter that played volleyball, so I was down here quite often. So I know my way well around between Daytona, Deltona, and Orlando. And but we're looking forward to coming back down here. Bethune's always a challenge. We play them every year, so we know that's going to be tough. But again, we want to represent the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and play well tomorrow night. And who knows if it gets late? Hopefully it will get late early for us, and we'll be in the ball game in the fourth quarter.
You mentioned earlier, Coach Pugh. What makes him successful?
He's a people person. If you have an opportunity, try to have a conversation with him, because I do his coach's show. I can ask Coach one question, and Coach can go for 10 minutes. I mean, he's that type of person. And, the funny thing about it was, in contrast to Deion Sanders last year with Jackson State, and I really kind of hate to bring them up, but Coach is just such a people person. He will talk to anybody. He'll spend time with you. He's that way with the players. And I think that's the thing. When you look at South Carolina State, we're not the biggest school in the state, but we constantly get kids, and those kids believe in what we're doing at South Carolina State. When you look at Jacoby Durant going to the NFL this past year, the best linebacker in the NFL, Darius Leonard, played against Central Florida the last time we played with you guys. He was here in that ball game. He played right over there at the bounce house, had 8 tackles in that ball game. Javon Hargraves, who's probably one of the highest paid nose tackles in the NFL, plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He played at South Carolina State. Kids come to South Carolina State and understand that to say you can get anywhere from here, it's not an understatement when you come to Orangeburg to play football.
We lost Ernest there.
Did we lose Ernest?
I don't know. We'll see. Hold on. He's still
there. You are. You're back, Ernest.
Ernest is back. Ernest, we have a question from one of our listeners. Wants to know: is SC State bringing the band? Is the band going to be with you all in Orlando?
You guys couldn't hear me. I said I got a fantasy draft going on at the same time.
Oh, do you need help? What round are we in? What pick are we got?
We're round 9, and I'm down to the point where I'm
guys bringing your band.
Beg your pardon?
Are you bringing the band?
Bringing your band?
I'm not sure. The thing about it is it would be great if we did, because we've had to kind of do a reboot. We had a situation in years past where the band has kind of gone down, but we've got a new president and Colonel Alex Conyers, new athletics director, and Keisha Campbell. And it's really a great time to be a South Carolina State Bulldog. I am so excited about our administration. We're one of these schools, unfortunately, I know a lot of folks are having problems these days. We're not having problems. We've got a great network of stations that carry South Carolina State football. I'd venture to say we probably have the largest radio network in the MEAC or the SWAC, I'm sure. We rival, a lot of folks from the standpoint of the stations that carry the games. We get great support. Hopefully we'll have some folks down here this weekend, because they only come twice. So, we're looking forward to it, but it's a great time to be a South Carolina State Bulldog. Who
did you pick first in your fantasy draft?
Well, I had the 3rd pick.
Okay.
And so I'm on the phone with another guy, and we're trying to guess who's going to pick. So I'm thinking, I said, well, I think the first pick wasn't McCaffrey, who's a pick. Anyhow, I ended up with Derrick Henry. I wanted McCaffrey, but I ended up with Derrick Henry. I mean, I couldn't turn that down, even though he's coming off an injury, but but I got Joe Burrow as a quarterback. And who else did I get? I've got Adam Thielen. I got Tyler Renfro.
I see a theme here.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I'm trying to win. I'm an old guy. I'm about the money. I don't go for the flash and the dash. I need some production.
You didn't take Joe Burrow 2nd round, did you? I mean, you took him later in the draft.
No. I got him in like the 4th round. I got him
all right, just making sure. Make sure the value plays there.
Yeah.
Was Jonathan Taylor available to you? Because Jonathan Taylor would have been a good pick.
No, Jonathan Taylor was gone. He was gone.
And
then who knows if he's going to have that kind of year this year? I don't know if I believe that or not. But if my draft goes like it normally is, by the end of the season, half the team is different than what it was when it started.
That is certainly true.
In around the 10th pick, I did take Chris Olave.
Okay, I have him as well. Could be a sleeper for the Saints. I don't know if James can throw that far, but we'll see.
Yeah, we are.
All right.
Do you have a signature call for a touchdown, or if you guys win a ball game? Is there a signature Ernest Robinson call you have?
No, not really. It's more like touchdown Bulldogs, something of that nature. It just kind of happens. I'm one of those people. I'm old school from the standpoint of someone asked me, how do you do play-by-play? And somebody told me a long time ago, I can't think of who it was, but I pretend that the person who, in my mind, the person who's listening to the radio can't see, and I have to be the eyes for them. So you got to set the whole picture. and try to draw the picture for them so they can say, I'm listening to the radio, but I can see the game. That's the ultimate compliment to a radio play-by-play person.
Well, we appreciate you spending a little bit of time during this fantasy draft that you're involved in. Ernest Robinson, voice of South Carolina State football. Be safe in all of your travels back and forth.
And if you guys should stay at the stadium tomorrow, come by the radio visiting booth and say hello. Stick your head in.
All
We
right.
have room, so you know.
You have hot dogs.
Do you need a color commentator? I mean, I'm available.
Let me tell you the funny thing about it. The guy who does the color commentator, information director. You know, and what people have to understand is you don't really have to know football and be an expert. You know, that's not what we do. We have a good time, and he tells the best stories. And the sad thing about it is he's really serious, but he doesn't realize how hilarious he is. But he is just hilarious to listen to on the radio.
Sounds like there's an opening. All right, I'll be there.
Thank you, Ernest.
All right, you
Have
guys
a good
take
rest
care.
of the night.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Take care.
sir.
Thank you.